Time check, please. It's almost 8, 7:59 and 1/2. Albert Keener is a candidate for City Council. Cumberland, you'll be part of the first wave of voting coming up shortly, Albert. This time has been paid for by the candidate. Albert, tell me a little bit about you. I didn't know until a couple of, months ago, you are disabled, sir.
Yes, I am.
I'm a little, and I use the word sensitive to that only because I grew up with my dad was in a wheelchair for 40 years.
Really?
And he, I guess this is one for the disabled community. My father came back. That was back in the days, Albert, when if you were disabled, a lot of times your employer let you go.
Yeah.
Well, that was back in 1960, and. My dad worked another, he worked about 27 more years.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't think he missed a day of work after he got better. But he worked all that time in a wheelchair. How long have you been in a wheelchair, sir?
I've been it's been about 10 or 11 years.
Really? So it's not a birth defect?
Well, I've had muscular dystrophy as a child, but the progression eventually got to the point where I needed to use a wheelchair.
Will you be in a wheelchair the rest of your life?
Probably, unless they find a cure for this progressive illness.
Does it? Well, I know it slows you up because it slowed my dad up. But my dad could get anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, honest to God, Albert, I took my dad to, if you've ever been to a baseball game, and then those old cookie cutter stadiums like Veterans Stadium and the stadium in Cincinnati and the stadium in St. Louis, those big, tall, steep. I got him up into that thing. I mean, we got that wheelchair anywhere. So people that think that if you're disabled you can't do things, think again.
Yeah.
If you've got determination, you can get there.
I believe that.
Why are you doing this? What? I mean, come on, don't you have enough things to do?
I'd like to give back to my community mainly. I usually never let that stop me before. I knew I had to work hard to get in school to get ahead. And I went to Frostburg State. I graduated with a degree in graphic design. I graduated actually with honors. And before that, I graduated valedictorian of my high school class at Old Town School.
Mm-hmm.
And I pretty much knew that I had to work hard to get ahead. So that's just what propelled me to do the best I could.
Why or what do you do for a living?
I work at Alliance Publishing and Marketing on Virginia Avenue. I manage the firm's computer systems. I've worked there for over 15 years.
Has it prepared you for public office?
I believe so. You got to work with a lot of people when you're dealing with computer problems and things like that, and you're managing people's information. It takes a lot of trust to make sure you're doing that properly.
Mm-hmm. Last time you were here, we talked about some of the things that you'd like to accomplish as a city council person.
Oh, absolutely.
You mentioned crime.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned economic development. You mentioned streets and water mains. But talk to me this morning. I know this is one of your pet issues.
Mm-hmm.
Memorial Hospital.
Oh, yes. And before I focus on this, I want people to know that I have posted some of the documents pertaining to this information on my website, and that's Cumberland2012.com under a special link for Memorial Hospital.
I think you should probably, I know how you feel about this,
yeah.
I think you should probably use Butch Hendershot's comment.
This is sucking us dry.
Absolutely. It is. It's been a bad deal all around, and it's really detracting the city from what it really needs to achieve, and it needs to be addressed now, not put off until the next city council gets in office, but it needs to be addressed now.
How bad, Albert, is this? How bad is this deal?
It is draining the city of approximately $250,000 per year. And right now they're looking at doing partial demolitions, and they've already spent a great deal of money on this building. And just to give you an example, they've contracted with Ridgecrest Investments. They have a deal on the table where Ridgecrest is supposed to rent this building, lease it for 10 years. And at that option, if Ridgecrest wants to hold on to it, they can lease it for yet another 10 years. The city is responsible for paying for all maintenance, utilities, providing security to this building, it's a good deal of money. And now they have an option to purchase a hospital for $7 million, but I'm foreseeing a situation where the city of Cumberland is just going to continue to make substantial improvements, which include demolitions, with the belief it's going to get $7 million back, and it's never going to get it back. We can't let this happen. And just to give you an example of how much it costs to demolish a building like this, when you're talking about a steel structure with a brick exterior and concrete floors, the existing Allegheny High School, for example, just about 1/3 of the size in square footage will cost $870,000. And, they're talking about demolishing parts of the building, but about 2 years ago, the city borrowed $1.5 million to make changes to the hospital's heating and cooling system. $670,000 of that money went into the heating and cooling system and the medical office building, which is kind of detached from the hospital, and I somewhat suspect that might have been the first candidate they were looking at for demolition. So it wouldn't make sense to demolish that. So, it's just going to ever escalate to the point where they're not going to get their money back, and probably eventually they might end up having to give it to the developer.
Do you have any idea how the rest of the council feels about this issue right now? I know where Hendershot is.
This is sucking us dry.
I've heard the term "stop the bleeding" a lot.
If you win, if you're in, and then you get and then you prevail in the general. How big a priority is this for you?
That should be really our number one economic development priority, just because you have to do something with the hospital, and it's sucking the city dry, and it just needs to be done. And I do look at it as an economic development initiative because the site is going to need redeveloped and stuff, but just get it off of the city's expense sheet so we can address the more pressing things that a city is supposed to do.
By the way,
and they often talk about talking to the experts when it comes to this. Unfortunately, I don't think there's not an expert that pertains to real estate development on the city staff.
He's a candidate for city council in the primary. You will also hear him on the radio at an Allegheny County Chamber of Commerce and WCBC Radio Candidates Forum coming up early next month. Albert Keener for City Council. This time has been paid for by the candidate.
Dave, can I give my website and phone number?
Yes, sir, please.
I would certainly appreciate it if you look at my website. It's Cumberland2012.com. If you can make a donation, read more about my platform. If you wish to call me at 301-876-4861, I'd certainly appreciate it. I still need placements for yard signs and volunteers, and I'd appreciate any donations to defray campaign costs.
Thanks, Albert.
Thank you.
Bye.